Hey folks, this is BestInSlot, and tonight we're going to do a video I've done about 500 times in the past, but this is different this time. Probably. Because A, I said so, and B, because evolution is in the best state it's ever really been in. So, despite that, what are the top 5 things Jurassic World Evolution 2 still needs? What is it missing to be a great game rather than a good game? How can it separate itself from its predecessor more fully and establish itself as the big daddy in the dinosaur park building space? Let's find out. Let me know your thoughts and suggestions and whether you like crunchy or smooth peanut butter in the comments below, and let's get started. PS, before we get started, I'm not going to mention things like campaign expansion or chaos theory expansion, since we're hoping that's going to come with the Jurassic World Dominion update. PPS, I am going to say a lot of nicer things about Evolution 2 at the end. I do want to just put that out there right now, basically, but let's get started. First up then, and for me this is probably number 1, is, and I've been talking about this for years, is more attractions. More! The game has loads of prehistoric species, and whilst we definitely need that roster to keep expanding, it's probably one of the least important parts of the game right now. I liken it a little bit to Planet Zoo, which has animal packs, and then hybrid animal/building packs, with the latter opening up this huge world of building possibilities. Evolution and Evolution 2 so far never really gets anything like that, and across the entirety of the lifespan of the franchise, we've added 2 viewing galleries via the Aviary and Lagoon viewing galleries, and 2 vehicle tours via the Truck Tour and the Jurassic Park Tour, and I think that is actually literally all we've ever had. I know I'm not alone in wanting balloon or helicopter tours, submarine rides now, that'd be so good, shark tunnels, inner exhibit viewing galleries like from JPOG, Rexy log thingies, petting zoos, yada yada yada. We have more decoration options in Evolution 2, but the parks still feel a little sterile. They don't really feel like parks per se, as opposed to big dinosaur viewing galleries with a few shops. And that's just not what Jurassic World was, and more attractions is the best way to get us moving in the right direction. I am attracted to this idea. Next up is, well, expanded decoration options. This has already been a huge leap over Evolution 1 in most regards, though not all, we'll get to that in a second, but there's 3 specific areas that need addressing. The first is that caveat, not all, because for some reason individually placeable trees have been removed from the game, even though they were immensely useful back in Evolution 1. Because the tree brush in the game demands a moderate sized area to work, it means it can be very difficult to decorate your parks fully and make them all pretty like, you know? Bring back the trees! Secondly, the lagoons are crying out for a little bit of love. They really do feel uninspiring compared to the aviaries, and if Frontier can find a way to let us edit their terrain, foliage, and maybe even lighting, that'd be a huge step forward. If you've played the game, you know how murky the lagoon water can be. How about letting us control the transparency a little bit, like in, say, Planet Zoo? Couple that with some more viewing options, and lagoons would suddenly be a lot more exciting. Thirdly, we do still need more decoration options. We need statues and regular benches rather than just, table benches, bins and vending machines and fountains, the sort of miscellaneous stuff that you can dot around your park. I'm not expecting it to hit, 1/100th, 1/1000th even of what, say, Planet Zoo and Prehistoric Kingdom have. Evolution 2 is a different type of game, really. It doesn't need to be a different type of game than it is. But we do need a little bit more. I'm a greedy goose, what can I say? Midway through the list now, we're fixing the sandbox options. I don't know why I said that like Sean Connery, but let's roll with it. Pretty simple one this. Please, for the love of baby raptor Jesus, find a way to let us turn off scientists in sandbox mode. Combat toggles finally got added in the last big patch, but having to recruit this huge stable of scientists and the 4 buildings necessary to maintain them, 5 buildings necessary to maintain them, is honestly, it's a little ridiculous that we have to do that in sandbox. Speaking of which, the fact that we still don't have instant incubation or even automatic incubation, even better for like a sandbox kind of Site B, is a little silly as well. I mean, it's a sandbox mode. We don't need to force players to spend extra time there or earn, in inverted commas, their dinosaurs in a mode that's meant to be as creatively freeing as possible. It really staggers me that we never got that in the first game, and now I'm double staggered. Guys, I'm so staggered. It's crazy. If you have to keep the scientist mechanic in the game, which is entirely possible, maybe it's so folded into the mechanics of Evolution that they can't remove it from sandbox mode, then you just follow what Kyodenic did in his mod, which is in sandbox you let dinosaurs A, be instantly incubated, because, you know, come on, and B, only require one skill point. That way you only need one building and one scientist, and as long as they've got one skill in everything, they'd be able to sort all your dinosaurs out, and it would essentially fix the issue whilst keeping the scientist mechanic in the game. Fourthly, and for me this is probably the area where Evolution 2 missed a trick the most, is expanding the gameplay loop. I used to harp on about this a lot as well. Now I admit this is a hard one to do post-release, and it's a hard one to do in a park building game in general, and Evolution 2 did take a stab at this by integrating the scientist mechanic, but whilst that mechanic certainly adds more button pressing, in reality it doesn't really add much in terms of management or strategic depth or choice. Clicking more buttons does not equate to a more satisfying gameplay loop, and I think one of the big reasons Evolution 2 is maybe not selling quite as well and, you know, as we expected, and not performing as well in general, is because sometimes it does feel a little bit like the first game but with a new lick of paint. It needed another big feature or two to really hang its hat on, other than just lagoons and aviaries, which I really do think is the only standout of the lot. One thing Evolution 2 did do that I really like is the story events that play out in challenge mode, and I think this would have been a really good area to expand much further. More story events that work in sandbox mode as well. I don't know if they're meant to. You can toggle them on, but they've literally never popped for me. Maybe multi-stage story events, like a little choose your own adventure kind of thing, and ones that have more direct impact on your park rather than just changing your bank balance or scientist status. You can throw in protesters if you keep picking the controversial options, you could have your park shut down, you could have dinosaurs taken away, you could have dinosaurs donated from other parks, more cross-park contamination would be good, except not the word contamination. I don't know, I'm not a game designer, I'm just a man. One man who doesn't know what he's talking about, so listen to me. Anyway, finally then, and I did have to scramble for this one, but I do think it would now be cool beans, is more things to get players to log back in regularly. Planet Zoo did this well at the start. It had these animal challenges that, you know, release 74,000 chimpanzees, and if you did that, you got a stupid hat, and it was fantastic. And other games do this all the time with seasonal events and stuff like that. So for example, we've just finished the Christmas period. Maybe over the Christmas period, all your parks could have their weather effect changed to a snowstorm rather than the default one. Yeah, it might look a little weird to have the snow in the desert levels, although that does happen in reality, but it would be cool and it would be Christmassy. Or you could even just make snowstorms more common or even permanent and give us like a setting to have a permanent snowstorm or permanent heavy snow that doesn't affect our dinosaurs. Something like that to kind of ram home the Christmas kind of theme. We could have had a few Christmas themed decorations, you know, a couple of presents, a Christmas tree. You'd only need 3 or 4. Make a big glowy Christmas tree and suddenly you could make a Christmas themed park. Maybe at Halloween the nights could last longer or even permanently, although you can toggle that on already, but maybe they're orange, maybe there's a blood moon or something, you know? Just making stuff up now. You know, and for decorations, all you need is a skeleton and a pumpkin, and you're basically done. Easy peasy. If you really wanted to incentivize people to log in during those periods, you even throw in a dinosaur with links to the season. So a Uteranus at Christmas, for example, it feels like a Christmassy kind of dinosaur to me. They could go back to the Planet Zoo style and say, if we release 1 million Tyrannosaurus Rexes in 2 weeks, they'll throw in a new skin colour pattern. I'm really not here for specifics, I'm here to give vague, wishy-washy ideas that fill out a video, but I do think the game could do a lot better at getting players to come back and check it out outside of that regular DLC cycle. Speaking of which though, my concern with a lot of these things is that they would take time away from DLC development, though a lot of them could be integrated into said DLC, and it is worth mentioning, as I've said before, Frontier is very good at giving us really nice, sizable free updates that are often better than the DLC itself. I mean, just look at the last update, it was a really good update. I can't claim to have any genuine knowledge about how Frontier structures their game development, but I do get the sense at the very least that a lot of the Evolution 2 team have probably already moved on at this point. And I'm sure that's very normal in game dev. You definitely don't want the full team working on the game when you're in the DLC stage. And now more than ever, prioritizing the right tasks is most important. And I suspect there might be a thought process at play here that says, well, dinosaur packs are going to make the most money, that's what we should focus on. I feel like the game needs to be brought up to a better level first, but you know, I'm not trying to make the most money from the game possible, which is at the end of the day the point of developing a video game. I just want to play a best version of the game possible. And that is not the same thing. And I know at least that in my Evolution 2 bubble of the people I talk to, that more attractions is absolutely the big thing we've wanted for years and years and years. All that said, I did actually struggle to get number 5, at least on this list. I struggled to fill out the list way more than I ever would have with Jurassic World Evolution 1, and that's because the second game does make some cool steps forward. The aviaries and lagoons, even if the latter needs a little bit of love, they are great additions. The new map variety adds so much to sandbox building, as does the recently expanded sandbox options like the flat maps. The addition of colour randomization to dinosaur egg clutches is honestly, like, one of the absolute best new features in the game. It is so good, it really is. And it's nice to have some real decoration options this time, and rocks. My beloved rocks are back, even if I do think we need a little bit more. It's a good game, it really is, and it's a much better. Evolution 1 when it first came out was like a 4, 5 out of 10. It was not a great game. Evolution 2 is like a 7 to 8. It's a much better game. It just needs a little bit of I feel like we've been here before. I feel like I've said all these words before, but Evolution 2 really does have a lot of potential, and it's been tucked away right now. And I really hope that the devs at Frontier are given the time, the space, and the resources to make it happen exactly how they would like. Anyway, that's it from me. Thank you so much for joining me. If you liked any of these ideas, then throw me a like down below like a cool kid, and remember to subscribe to the channel and yada yada yada. Also, I prefer crunchy peanut butter, just so you know. Thanks for joining me. Cheers much as always. Bye-bye.
Houston, if you're ready, we'll maneuver. Reaching out.